Where to travel? Where should you go now? These are all questions that people ask every single day. The past does not equal the future. What do I mean by that? Well, I believe, and that's just not my belief, but it's actually based on available data, is the fact that certain regions are just not ideal for digital nomads right now, where other regions are actually perfect for digital nomads. And that despite the current pandemic. Today we're going to talk about one particular region that you want to dive into and another region that you probably want to avoid altogether. So let's get started. I'm really excited to shoot this video. I hope it's going to be a really truthful one for you. It's going to be a very difficult one for some people because it's very truthful. I know it's a touchy subject, but what I really want to point out is that the past does not equal the future. And what I mean by that is that the way digital nomads, the way you used to live in, let's say, 2019, may not be possible today and may not be possible 3 years from now in the same region. And I know that's a very tough pill to swallow, but it's something you have to accept because you personally can't wait for a certain region like Southeast Asia to be what it used to be. You don't know if that day will ever come. I know that sounds very negative, it sounds very pessimistic, but I think it's truth. It's the truthful perspective of today's environment in that region. If we take a look at what Asia was like in 2019, because as you guys probably know from watching my other videos, I spent a ton of time in Asia and I loved Asia so much that I could not leave. Now things look very differently now with the whole pandemic, and the way governments are managing it is just something that's personally not appealing to me. It does not appeal to me to be restricted because the whole premise, the distinct advantage you and I had, I mean, I'm talking to those who were in Asia before, who visited, lived, backpacked in Asia. It doesn't matter what you did in Asia. If you have lived the old Southeast Asia routine, you know how good it was. There was nothing better than that at that time. However, fast forward today, things look very differently. Intercontinental travel freedom is done. It's just finished. The intercontinental travel freedom that we used to have in Asia a couple of years ago, it doesn't exist anymore today. That's a very tough one. It's a tough one because we know what it tasted like. We still have that taste in our mouths. And the more you think about it, the more upset you become because it's something that's out of your control. You can't change it. How a lot of backpackers, for instance, they went to Asia, booked a long trip, maybe for 6 months, spent 1 month in Thailand, then they moved on, spent a couple of weeks in Cambodia, then they would move on to Vietnam, spend another month in Vietnam. They traveled from the south, Ho Chi Minh City, all the way up to Hanoi, stopped in Nha Trang, stopped in Da Nang, stopped in Haiphong, and all these amazing places, but that does not exist today. It is impossible today to do because the way it works today is that you have interstate travel restrictions, okay? So you cannot travel like you did before. It's just not feasible. It's not possible. The governments are forbidding it or restricting it. This is the old way. This is the past. This doesn't exist anymore. And there's no way of knowing if it will ever come back because it depends on how our government are restricting us. But if you want to book now a ticket to Asia and you think you can stay in Thailand for 1 or 2 months, and that's probably all you can do unless you purchase a high-ticket visa program such as the Thai Elite visa or the new 10-year visa. I'm not sure if it's even available yet, but the 10-year visa that Thailand proposed, unless you get any of these really high-ticket visas, you are not going to have a great time in Asia because you can only stay for 1 or 2 months. In fact, if you can even get in, because you cannot get into most countries, right? You cannot get into Cambodia, you cannot get into Vietnam, the Philippines is completely closed. Indonesia is open partially and opening and closing all the time, right? But it's difficult to travel right now. If you want the same life that you had before, or in case you heard, let's say you've never been a digital nomad backpacking in Southeast Asia, right? You've never lived the digital nomad lifestyle in Southeast Asia that many of us enjoyed for years and some even for a decade or more than a decade. If you are not among the people and you heard all the great stories, well, I'm sorry that I have to break it to you, but this life does not exist right now. And it's questionable if it will ever come back. I know that sounds extremely pessimistic, extremely negative, but it's just the truth. Here's what you should do instead. And I know the region that I'm about to talk about right now is a region that was not very popular 5 years ago. Why? Because people went to Asia. Southeast Asia was the best region to be in. You know, the Southeast Asia routine was great. However, now people are going to Latin America, okay? And I think that's where you want to be. Restriction-wise, freedom-wise, visa-wise, it makes the most sense out of all the options available, especially if you are a startup entrepreneur, if you are an upcoming digital nomad. If you want to have a great life for little money, you want to have the most freedom, you want to have the best experience, the least restrictions possible, then this is where you want to be. And don't worry about safety, because Western media has long done a really phenomenal job putting down Latin countries. Asian countries too, for different reasons. Why? Because they don't want you to migrate to other countries. They want you to pay taxes back home. That's why you've been created, at least in their eyes. They want you to stay back home, pay taxes, be a good citizen, and just fall in line with the average Joe. That's what they want. For me personally, having lived abroad this long, having traveled to so many countries, and having spent so much time in different countries, I can personally tell you that I have not felt any more unsafe during my time in Asia than I felt during my time in the US. In fact, at times I felt more unsafe in the US than I did in Asia. Latin America is great, okay? If you go to Mexico, you can get a 6-month tourist visa, and let's say you're in a really tight budget, you can't afford to get a residence permit. The temporary residence requires you to have a deposit in your bank account. I think it's about 25,000 bucks. So if you can't afford it and you still want to live in Latin America, especially Mexico, yeah, you can just go there on a 6-month tourist visa. You can leave the country, you can come back in, boom, you get another 6 months, right? And that's how a lot of people live in Mexico without ever having to apply for any long-term visas. This life is very possible. And not only can you stay in Mexico like this, you can travel from Mexico to Colombia. Colombia has a very similar visa option for you. You can get a 90-day tourist visa. And while you're in the country, assuming that the 90 days, are not done yet, they have not elapsed, you can apply for a 90-day extension while you're in Colombia. So you can get 180 days in total. Not a great country to stay in, right? Or you could go to a place like the Dominican Republic, which allows you to get in on a 30-day tourist visa and overstay your visa and just pay a fine upon your departure from the country. It's just a phenomenal deal. And it's crazy why so many people are stuck, thinking that, okay, Asia is going to recover. I mean, I'm one of those. I'm one of those people, right? Because, yeah, we missed the past, we missed the great time that we had, but we have to understand, seeing all the progress that's going on in Asia, how they're opening up, they're restricting not only foreigners, but also their own citizens in an insane way. If you want to travel to another province, you need to have a PCR test, you need a quarantine, like all this crazy stuff. It's just outrageous. It's outrageous to even want to go there and comply with all this. I mean, unless you have a good reason to go there, unless you have like a business or you are married, you have kids. I mean, I totally understand that. Even if you have a girlfriend, I understand that too. But if you're single or, if you don't have any serious ties to Southeast Asia, it doesn't make any sense to go back there now. What I would suggest you to do is either A, you stay where you're at, you sit this one out, let them handle the stuff, let them get things right, because they need to get back to normal before most of us will ever consider visiting this place. So I think you really only have two options. Option one, you stay where you're at, you sit this one out, okay? It's like playing poker. You're dealt a hand, it's a really bad hand. Why would you play a bad hand against a superior opponent? And that's exactly what you're looking at in Southeast Asia. You're looking at an opponent that has all the cards and you have none. It makes absolutely no sense to go there unless, like I said, you have serious ties. If you're married, you have a girlfriend, you have a wife, you have a business, you have some serious ties, you have a real connection to the region, to the country, then I guess it makes sense to go there because you already invested a lot of time and energy, and for family we do everything, right? Makes perfect sense. However, if you don't have any serious ties, consider Latin America. Give it a chance, just once. Just try it. Give it a chance, What's the worst thing that can happen? You're not going to get killed. I mean, come on. The worst thing that can happen in most cases is you're not going to like it. You're not going to like it for whatever reason. Maybe you can't adjust to the culture. If you're dating and you met a girl and she was not the right girl, well, you can always find another girl. There's plenty available. But anyway, give it a chance, you know? Give it a chance. Latin America is great. It doesn't look like they're putting more restrictions in place. In fact, it looks like they're opening up more and more and more. And they have never had these ridiculous restrictions in place that are currently still in effect in Southeast Asia. There's still not only Southeast Asia, East Asia as well. It's the whole continent that's in trouble as a whole. I won't go there. I won't go there until they have figured out how to be normal, you know, how to just live life like it was before. And the problem is not only in Southeast Asia. Look at Australia. I mean, not a chance in hell I will ever go there again. I have some Australian friends, but considering what they did was everything but democratic. Everything but democratic. Why would you go there? Makes no sense. The country is not that great, really isn't. Everything's overpriced. And then there's not a whole lot to do. There's just the big cities. It's not a nature paradise. The beaches suck. It's just not a great place to be, Australia. I've been there a couple of times. I didn't really enjoy that much, but I like the people. I like Australians. I have some close friends, but they also think it's insane what's been going on in the country. And Europe, a mixed bag as well. Maybe Eastern Europe, but during the colder season, maybe not the place where you want to be. The weather is not that great, right? And a lot of nomads, a lot of entrepreneurs probably are not in Europe because they want a warmer climate. Not everyone, of course, but many people do. Latin America is probably where you want to be unless you have the guts to go to Africa. Not a lot of people have the guts to go to Africa, but Africa is an upcoming place as well. I definitely keep an eye on that. Like I said, if you want to have a phenomenal time right now as a digital nomad, as an entrepreneur, as an investor, as a free individual, if you want to be free, okay? If you want to enjoy restriction-free intercontinental travel, if you want to have intercontinental travel freedom like it was before, go to Latin America because you can travel between countries without needing to even do a COVID test. Doesn't get any better than that, given the current circumstances. I mean, it's the best place where you can be. And it's the place where sane people go. What do you think about the current situation in Southeast Asia? Do you think things will change, or do you think this is the new norm? And how about Latin America? Leave a comment below and let us know. Make sure to subscribe and turn on alerts. Never miss any of my videos on digital nomad locations, travel updates, and visas. Before I let you go, I got 2 recommendations for you. 1, I shot a video on countries where you can live on as little as $1,000 a month. If you want to watch this video, then click on the link right here. 2, I shot another video on the best countries that you can visit right now, countries without entry restrictions. If you want to watch this video, then click on the link right here. Thank you for watching.